with your clients, whatever it is, that's what it's about. Do you want to feel better? Some of you are stuck in a mode of living and you wake up and you feel like just okay or even pretty good. Well, I tell you what, pretty good is the enemy of freaking amazing, right? Feeling freaking amazing. I'm glad we're not in church today because I can say freaking all day long, right? See, it's God's plan to not make the summit work, right? So, but seriously, when I wake up feeling amazing every single morning, I'm laying there in bed before I get up, right? I'm like, how in the heck would not every single person want to feel this, right? And maybe you don't know what that feels like, and I get that. Like, if you don't know what that actually feels like, well, then it's like hard to comprehend that. But if I could put you as if you're a guest, inside my patient's body for one day, right? Like, then you would know what I'm talking about. So sometimes I get it. I guess sometimes it's hard to have that as a tangible aspect, but that's what it is. And if you're stuck in a place too where, as you look at feeling better, feeling younger, and you're thinking, well, that's impossible, or there's no way for me to feel younger based on my age, well, guess what? You're right. Right? See, if that's what you believe, then that will be your reality, without question. But the problem is that your truth is not the truth, not necessarily the truth anyways. So we have to expand your mind and remove those limiting beliefs from where you are with your health. And I know I'm not just talking to the guests or the non-patients here. I'm also talking to my patients that if you've been coming for a long time and you've gotten a lot of change, but you haven't gotten a lot of change in a while, and you think, well, maybe this is as good as it's going to get, well, you need to remove those shackles from your mind and figure out, how do I go to the next level? You always ask the question, what's next? What more can I be doing, right? And we all go through seasons where it gets rough and it gets choppy and it gets bumpy and we have setbacks and we have, other ththings that have to take priority, maybe over our health. But the reality is, if you keep that vision for where you want to be and what you can have, then you keep marching towards it. Eating healthier, right? Some of you want to do that, and you realize that that's going to be a major catalyst for the other things on there. How about reversing disease? How many of you think that's possible? Yeah, and a lot of you here in this room have done that. That's what we taught here in our office. But if you believe, well, yeah, maybe like reversing something easy like diabetes or high blood pressure, maybe that's possible, but not my MS. Right? Well, the body heals one way or the other, right? If it can heal a cut on your arm, then why can't it heal MS inside of your body, right? If it can heal, a scrape, or if it can heal headaches or maybe pain down your leg, then why can't it heal cancer growing inside of your body? See, the healing mechanisms, your body either heals or it doesn't. I guess if you get a cut and you don't heal, then you might be in trouble from getting that, but I guarantee you if I cut every single one of you here in this room right now, you will heal. How about getting off medications? And listen, this is being filmed, so disclaimer. I'm not saying to stop taking medications, right? That is out of my scope of practice, right? But if you make the right lifestyle changes, right? Because ultimately the reason why you're on medication right now is because you've lifestyled your way into that problem, right? You lifestyled your way into your need for your medication. That means you can then also lifestyle your way out of it. And as I say that again, I'm not saying there's not a time and a place for that, but you can absolutely get off medications and doing the right things and working with your doctor to make sure that happens. And I firmly believe that what we're going to talk about today will give many, many, many of you, again, that choose to not have a jacuzzi experience, the tools and the catalyst to get that started. And for me too, when I think about that, and this is just me being transparent, and I'm going to say some things that are a little extreme today, and that's okay because I make a living off of being black and white, right? Lukewarm does not transform lives. Amen? Right? Like black and white is what the reality is with most of these things here. I can't imagine a more vulnerable position with my health than having to rely on medication. And let me explain on that. If you have to rely on a monthly going to a pharmacy and getting a little bottle with it that either is going to keep you alive or make sure something disastrous not happens, I can't think of anything more vulnerable. Because what if overnight, and listen, this has happened before, what if overnight your insurance company, that instead of you pay $7, you show up and the pharmacist says, now it's going to be $700, right? or 7,000. And listen, don't think that those things don't happen, because they do, and they have, and they will continue to happen more and more and more. And we'll say, well, no, mine will always be covered, mine will always be protected, right? Well, again, if you're going to choose to believe that, well, then you will probably never make the necessary action steps to get to the root cause of that issue. Because if it's comfortable, right, when you're in a phase of comfort, you rarely make a change. The only way you make a radical life change is to get uncomfortable. So maybe what you need to do is you need to act as if that this medication is only going to get more expensive, and someday I might not be able to afford it, right? So it's all about getting off medication. So the question is this then: if that's what you all want, because I'm assuming you showed up here because you want one of those or all of those or something related to those right there, the next question is, what's stopping you right now from having that before today? And I've worked with thousands of people now in a relatively short career, which has definitely been a blessing. And I've identified what I believe to be the 7 most common reasons why people, even despite having the right action steps and having the best intentions with their health, still don't make those changes. Would that be okay if I went through a couple of those, right? All right. So number 1 is that your value system is screwed up. You don't need, when I was 12 years old, shoot, even when I was like 20, shoot, even like a month ago, you didn't need to like convince me or talk me into like sitting down on a Friday night after a long week of work and like playing some video games. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't need to work that into my schedule, right? Or think, for those of you that have like teenage boys, not just boys, you know what I'm talking about, right? You don't need to motivate them to play video games, right? Because why? Because they value that. You don't need to motivate LeBron James to go play 82 plus basketball games a year. You don't need to motivate Bon Jovi or Justin Timberlake to get on the stage, leave their families, and go night after night after night after night after night to get on the stage and rock out, even though a long time ago they could have stopped because they have more money than they'll ever need. And you might be saying, oh, well, yeah, but it's easy for them to do that because they get millions of dollars and they do that. Well, guess what? They didn't at one point, right? Nobody was paying LeBron James when he was 16 years old to stay up late at night, right, shooting baskets until the lights got cut off. Nobody was motivating the Beatles or Bon Jovi, when they would play in clubs that they weren't getting paid, jack squat for, right? Having to breathe in smoke, getting stuff thrown at them, right? Things like that. You're right. They have to be motivated that because they value that. Well, if you truly value your health over anything else, let's be honest, you wouldn't need to be here, okay? And I get this, and I'm not beating you guys up for that because, this is a reality, is that it's so easy to live in this world because things always are going to get pushed to the top of that and said, your health's not that important. Because why? If I make money off of being extreme and being black and white, right, they make money off of you not valuing and prioritizing your health. Okay? Number 2, you don't know how to deal with setbacks. So you commit to something, you commit to an exercise regimen, you commit to a new nutrition plan. Maybe you're exercising and you twist your ankle, right, or you bum your knee, and then you got a little bit of a setback and you fall apart, you collapse. You can't do it, you quit, right? And it's human nature to give up because, again, it's hard to swim up the current, right? It's very hard to do that. We have to learn how to deal with setbacks and realize that every setback you have is an opportunity to have a comeback. It's that simple. Number 3 is you lose motivation. The number 1 most successful time in a person's life in losing weight is before their wedding. Almost every single person that sets a weight, I'm serious, I researched this. Almost every single woman that has a specific weight loss goal for their wedding will hit that weight loss goal before their wedding day. It vastly supersedes the other goal setting. Vastly. Why? Because look what is involved with the wedding day, right? There's public display, right? There's potential for embarrassment or humiliation in a way, right? There's an end date. It's not like, most cases the bride can't be like, oh, I still have another 7 pounds to go, let's push it back a couple weeks, right? So there's an end goal for that, right? And then there's also these are the pictures that'll be displayed on my mantle in my room and people will see and always be remembered for the rest of my life. So that's why they hit it, right? And even if they don't know what to do or where to start, or they don't pay thousands of dollars or hire celebrity trainers, right? The majority of women, right, hit that goal. Because there's a significant amount of motivation. So again, motivation truly comes from what is your why. And that's also ultimately motivation and inspiration, why you want to be doing those things. Number 4 is that these social circumstances have way too much power over you. Your friend group, right, that maybe doesn't have the same level of value for their health as you, right, are always sucking you, into this restaurant. We always have girls' night at this place, and there's not one healthy thing on the menu, right? But you feel like in order to still be friends or to belong to that you have to go along with that, and you have to also therefore fall under the social pressure of then ordering something you really know you shouldn't be having on the menu just to, fit in, if that's the right word. But it's way too much power over you, right? So you have to change your circles or be the leader in your circle, or realize that, listen, this is something that is just short term, like I can be here. And, I've gone to many restaurants before where, I had some water and had some steamed vegetables. That's the only thing I can have on the menu. And did it feel weird at first? Yeah, it totally felt weird. Does it feel weird now? No. Right? And luckily, most of my friend group and people around me, they actually now want to just, usually I order, or or my wife will order, and it kind of like everybody's like, I'll have what they're having. Right? Because it sounds good, right? You like the immediate awards. We all do. Who doesn't, right? I think about my student loans. I'm like, man, I paid it off a long time ago, right? Come on, we love the immediate. We know what we're talking about here. We start the weight loss program. We step on the scale the next day and oh, dang, I'm not down 10 pounds. What the heck? And therefore you stop, right? When most of you, it's taken 30 years to, and I know, again, part of this, especially in the second half, is a lot about weight loss. So I'm going to keep coming back to this, but if weight loss is not your primary reason why you're here, it's just to gain a new level of understanding for your health, or maybe get off medication, whatever it is, just replace when I say weight loss with whatever your thing is, right? We love the immediate awards, and when we don't see them, then it's discouraging versus looking at it as a challenge and excitement. It took you 30 years to get to that weight that you are now. Well, luckily what we'll teach you is not going to take 30 years to get back to that, but if you give yourself a little bit of grace, that you've been damaging yourself for a long time, then you give yourself the grace to keep going. You keep going towards that. You haven't burned the ships. I love this concept. Many ancient military forces would use this as a practice. The Vikings were one of them. The Romans did it a little bit too. They would literally go to a new land they wanted to conquer, and their commanders would burn their ships. It's like, we only got one way we're going, right? It's forward. No retreat, no way back. And so when we leave our ships, when we leave the fat clothes in the closet just in case, you've given yourself an out. Listen, it's 100% true. When you leave the cookies in the pantry, when it's time to when I celebrate, I'm going to want to eat some of those, right? When I hit my goal, well then I guarantee you're going to have them long before you hit your goal, right? When you leave yourself an out, it's human nature to take it when things get a little rocky. You'll give yourself an excuse. You'll give yourself, and listen, it'll probably be a really darn good reason, right? Man, today really sucked, and all I want is a whole pizza. I've had many of those days. Okay, and sometimes I haven't eaten a whole pizza, right? But unless you burn the ships, you will unlikely ever fully commit to doing the things that you need to do. And then lastly, it's accountability, right? And this is not to say that you have to dismiss your family or your entire friend group, but maybe you need to dismiss the context with which you relate to them, right? And the way you engage with them. And finding new sources of accountability. If you need an accountability partner, probably the person on your right or your left right now would be a good place to start, right? Because they're here. If they're here, they have the same values of you, which is wanting to be healthy, right? And if they don't look like they're taking notes or engaged, well, then maybe you want to sit up and move. But it's accountability. It's so important. I don't know anybody that is successful in any area of their life that doesn't have some level of coaching, mentorship, or accountability. And if you want to get extreme with this, here's my most favorite story of accountability. I was reading a book on nutrition, and it was talking about the author's friend who needed to lose 100 pounds. His health was in really bad shape, and he was given some ultimatums by doctors: if you've got to get this weight off, or it's in trouble. So he finally, I'm going to go all out. And this guy was Jewish, and so what he did was he wrote a $5,000 check to the American Nazi Foundation or whatever, gave it to his friend, the author, and said, if I have not lost the weight by this day, you are allowed to give them this check. Do you think he hit his goal?
Yes.
And again, that's like, whoa, that's extreme. Well, yeah. So it's heart disease, cancer, and dying an early death. I think that's more extreme to me. So accountability is a huge part. I know a lot of you brought, what we would call your accountability partner today, and that's great. And I want you to also know, too, that even though you may not know even a fraction of the people in this room here, myself, the other doctors, my staff here, we are all here absolutely for you as accountability partners. And as we wrap up later here this morning, you'll have an opportunity to jump on board with a 30-day kind of program that we're going to do. That one of the biggest parts of why it's going to be successful for you is, yeah, it's going to be an amazing content. Yeah, it's going to be an amazing program for you to metabolically lose weight and change your life. But there's going to be more levels of accountability in this topic than I guarantee you probably ever had before, without question. So what I want you to do is, and we'll stop here for a few minutes, I want you to take a minute or two and talk to your neighbor, all right? And tell them which one of those 7 things that I just went over is one that you needed to hear the most, okay? So go ahead, take a minute. If you're not sitting next to somebody, move next to somebody. Come on, we're all family here, okay? So this is what's called active learning, active engagement, right? Like talking about this and stopping and really letting this sink in is going to be really good. Did the person next to you have a good reason why they need to change? Yeah, what did you work on? The person next to you, raise your hand. The person next to you was good. All right, awesome. So let's shift into oxygen exercise, our next essential. And I'm actually going to throw this a little bit under the bus here in about 15 slides, but for now I'm going to kind of take a little bit of a different spin on this here. What I really want to talk about is not so much a lack of exercise from the standpoint of not exercising and not working out, but realizing just how damaging and traumatic smoking is, or sitting is, smoking is too, right? Let's see why I had a Freudian slip there in a second. Sitting is. And the reason why it's so damaging, recent research has shown that sitting for more than 8 hours a day is just as damaging and will take as many years off your life as smoking will. In fact, the American Academy of Orthopedics had an article that came out about 1.5 years ago that said sitting is the new smoking. So the new epidemic, if you will, of this generation, right, is sitting. Because we're finding that it increases your mortality just as much as smoking, so you have the chances of you dying from that. So, now, how does that play into effect? Because for the most part, most of us have sedentary jobs, right? So it's not like you can just walk in and plot that article on your boss or the CEO's desk and be like, well, I guess I get to do whatever the heck I want, right? You'll probably get handed a pink slip at the same time with that. But what you have to realize is, how can you incorporate less of this into your life? I've come to rely heavily on technology, for better or for worse, for doing things that really should be obvious. So, for example, I have a little alarm on my watch that if I've been sitting for too long, it buzzes. Right? It tells me it's time to stand up. Right? And they found that you don't have to stand up and you've been sitting for an hour. You don't have to stand up for an hour to counteract that. Literally a couple minutes of just moving around a little bit actually will almost fully negate, if not fully negate, the hour that you've been sitting. So you just have to get that hardwired into your routine that you've been sitting. standing up for just a minute. Maybe it's walking, maybe it's the water, right? Okay, not getting donuts, going to get a cup of water, whatever it is. Do a quick walk around the office and sit back down. Not only that, but it's going to energize your mind. It's going to get the blood flowing again. There's a lot of health benefits for that. It's going to be good for your spine instead of just continual negative compression into the joints of your spine, right? It's going to be very good for your spine there as well. And also, I firmly believe that movement and exercise is a huge anchor for other healthy benefits. At least I found that inside of my life. What I mean by that is when I'm exercising, I am almost foolproof in my nutrition. Because, and my sleep habits, right, and all those things, because it just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to go run 5 miles and then go eat 7 donuts. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, why would you, like, what's the point, right? So I found that when I don't exercise, though, subconsciously or even unintentionally, I just get more lackadaisical with my nutrition, right? So, and what was really where this locked in for me was that when I did go through a season where I didn't really exercise a whole lot, I just got real lazy with that. But my wife mentioned to me one day, she's like, I've noticed you're a better dad when you exercise, right? And if you think, well, that would almost be counterintuitive because the time away while I'm exercising, well, one could say, well, you could be spending that time with your kids, right? Well, I was actually more present, more energetic, and more engaged with my kids. I didn't even realize that, but as I was thinking about, that's very interesting. So more than anything, because there are benefits for metabolism a little bit, which some of I'll talk about, will shock you about that later too. But I think the biggest thing, the benefit of exercise, is the healthy habits that can generate and help you anchor too. Okay? And so the other thing too is that exercise does not have to look like that or whatever that they are doing right there in order to count, right? That could be moving, just walking, right? The point is that it's a habit with it, right? And it'll help you anchor into new benefits with your health and new lifestyle behaviors. So next one is minimizing toxins. And last year I did a whole 3-hour seminar on this. I'm not going to go a ton into this. I'm going to take a little bit of a spin on this. But it's very simple simply this. Toxicity in your body will come down to 2 things. It'll be managing and balancing your inflow of toxins versus your body's ability to get rid of them or excrete them. So meaning that you will become toxic and therefore a state of disease if the inflow of toxins in your body will supersede the outflow of toxins in your body. If the inflow exceeds your body's ability to outflow, right, then you will become toxic. On the flip side of that, if your inflow, right, does not supersede your body's ability to detoxify, then you will stay non-toxic. So there really are 2 ways to look at this, and I would argue that vastly more important is to look at the inflow. Because listen, it's so easy to be on Facebook and you see a little ad for a miracle detox powder or whatever it is, and click that and buy that and thinking that you just made the best decision of your life, when ultimately, if you spend 30 minutes figuring out how you can make your home a little less toxic, that would actually be more valuable in the long run. Right? So my thing with toxicity, I think the single most important thing with toxicity is to always be asking the question, what's next? And by the way, so obviously you guys to save time on toxicity, what we did is hopefully you enjoyed this gift, I passed out a handout there with 20, I think the top 22 common sources of toxins, so some things to help begin your journey with that if you're just new to this, or maybe find one other that you're not doing. But so let's say I'm going to start with my personal care products. Good. Focus on that. Get that down. Awesome. You don't stop there. Then you ask, what's next? Okay, good. Let me look at the cookware with which my family cooks with. Boom, we get stainless steel, we get off Teflon, boom, got that, great, what's next? Okay, now let's get to our household cleaning products, maybe switch to essential oils or baking soda and vinegar and get rid of all the cake, great, boom, what's next? Now let's look at the foods that we're eating. You just keep always asking the question, what's next? And that's what, now for me at this point in my life, I still have to ask that question. Back in 2018, there was a couple of really big what next things in the realm of toxicity that I wasn't even really aware of. I had to to toxicity. Now, when it comes to chiropractic here, and by the way, this is not going to be just for the guests. And I'm going to be totally transparent here for a second. For those of you that are not patients in my office, the part of the next reason for the next 4 slides is to help you realize that incorporating this into your life would be a very, very, very good idea. But also for the patients, it's not your time to zone out for a second because you're like, I got this. Because I'm going to cover a really key couple of things. But the issue with chiropractic is, the negative issue that I would say and admit to is that we as a chiropractic profession, I'm speaking as a chiropractor, we have mistakenly painted ourselves, okay, chasing money, chasing insurance reimbursement, chasing recognition, acceptance by the medical model. We've painted ourselves into a pain-based corner. And how do I know that? Like, I almost guarantee you before, and especially my patients, before you became a patient in my office, that's probably what your perception was chiropractic was about. Whether it was good, bad, or negative, you probably thought about it only in terms of pain. Well, people go there when they've had a car accident, or people go there when they have back pain that doesn't resolve with Tylenol or aspirin, or when they have sciatica, or they go there when they have headaches that aren't being resolved, whatever it is. That's what you think. And honestly, that's what I thought chiropractic was before I truly started studying this. But choosing to look at chiropractic that way is the same way as looking at dentistry as only a reason to go to a dentist if you have a cavity or searing pain going on inside of your tooth. You are literally missing out on the most important components of it. So I'm going to teach you probably a new word here today, so I want you all to write this down. And the word here is neurophysiology, which is basically how your nervous system works. And what neurophysiology is, it's a scientific study of the brain and how it controls every aspect of your health. What aspect of your health? Every aspect of your health. Not just how you feel or if your nerves are working or like your muscles are working, but every aspect of your health and the perception of the world. So what does that mean? It means that you live your entire existence, your entire nervous system, your entire life through your nervous system. Meaning that it's not just how you feel is what your nerve health relates to. It is literally how you are interacting with your world. It controls your emotions, your ability to feel love, to share wonderful moments with loved ones or friends or family members, to look at a sunset and see the beautiful colors that gives off, or to listen to your favorite song, your favorite music, and to feel that bass note humming inside of your spirit right there. That is all because your nervous system is processing that. And so ultimately what chiropractic is, and how we employ it in my house, at home, in my family, right? I haven't had, actually, I should say that I had neck pain for the first time in like 10 years last weekend, probably because I traveled for 3 weeks. It was miserable. I got people live like this. It's insane. But ultimately, other than that, my kids, they were adjusted from birth. My wife has been adjusted from birth. How we do is that I want my children to be fully present and fully engaged with their environment and their world, because we only got one shot here on earth. I want them to be getting the most out of it each and every single day. And you do that by having a properly functioning, or at least ever-increasing improvement of function of your nervous system. That's what chiropractic is all about, right? That is what a healthy nervous system is all about. Did you notice I haven't even talked about bones in the spine yet, right? And chiropractic is a practice and really a mechanism for improving neurophysiology, not improving bone health. It actually does very little, if anything, to bone health. It improves your nervous system and your perception of the world. I just think that's amazing to know that. How many of you, just out of curiosity, that are patients, and maybe not patient mind, but even how many of you have noticed that when you started getting adjusted, that you noticed that colors were almost even a little bit brighter? Just raise your hand. No, it's not going to be everybody, yeah. Or how about you noticed that maybe you were more sensitive with sound, right? Or you noticed that you had a deepening ability to enjoy beautiful moments, right? Yeah, I know a couple of handfuls about, but I noticed that too when I started getting adjusted. That's what it's all about. Now, when we talk about health, which is of course why we are here today, the lies and the misconceptions have forced you into believing the wrong aspects about health. Because by far and away, and I'd say most of you here in this room still fall into the trap of believing that health is based on how you look or how you feel. Now, are those things important? Absolutely. Right, they're important to me, and I want them to be important to you. I want you to feel good, I want you to look good, but the problem is that that is your dipstick, if you will, or your mechanism to measure your health right now. Well, I'm sorry to say, cancer and heart disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes, dementia, right? And I can go on and on. Those things have very little to, in many cases, no warning signs that they're developing inside of your body. Which means that you're waiting until the crisis to be fully in front of you or present before then you largely be taking action steps, good or bad. Right? So if you wait until you see a problem or you feel a problem in your body, my opinion is that that is the most dangerous way to be living your life. By far the most dangerous way to be living your life. And that goes again too for you guys as my long-term patients here. Some of you in this room, I was actually doing some math today, some of you in this room I've adjusted probably well over 300 or 400 times, right? I did some math, my wife has been adjusted over 1,700 times in her life. She's 32 years old, she's been adjusted roughly once a week or more for her entire life. So if you're doing math on that, some of you are really far behind. However long you should have been, okay? But if you're still basing everything off of that, it's like, oh, you slip, you fall off track, right? And it's like, oh, and the pain or ache, and it gets you back on track, right? You're living reactively, you're living your life based on crisis. Not a good place to be. So true health, and then remember, there is a lot of, it's not really open anymore. Back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and even in the early 90s, there was a lot of public friction and animosity and butting of heads between the medical profession and the chiropractic profession, mainly from the medical line, slanderizing the chiropractic profession. But really, that doesn't really exist a whole lot anymore. I mean, there might be some like subtleties there, maybe some old school doctors that still kind of harbor those feelings, but really that's gone away. But understand that the true definition of health, which was agreed upon by the World Health Organization back in the 80s, that has been adopted by every healthcare field that exists. Medical, chiropractic, physical therapy, naturopaths, all we've agreed upon this collectively, and there's 100% consensus that the true definition of health is about how your body is healing and functioning. That is how you measure your health right now, not how you feel. So, as we know then, what controls all the healing and function of your body? Well, that is going to be your nervous system. So we go and then take a step back and go for a second and look at symptoms then that are related to poor nerve health. Ultimately realize that if you have symptoms going on with your health right now, you're already at a point of crisis. I don't care if you feel neck tension once a year, right? That is already a warning sign that has shown up inside of your body telling you something that is wrong. I heard a thing right now, and I thought it was so great. It's like if you wore your spine on your face, right, you all take a lot better care of it, right? Which is why the orthodontist can charge $6,000, zero insurance coverage for braces, and people don't bat an eye on that. They'll freaking take out every credit card in the book and haircut and all that stuff, and not even bat an eye about doing that, right? When it comes to getting their health, people are like, oh, it's going to cost money. I'm like, well, if you wore everything with your health on you, if you wore your digestive system on your face too, what your total health looks like, I guarantee you take a lot better care of that too. You know what I'm saying? Come on, you know what I'm talking about. So the symptoms are a warning sign of your body, right? So ultimately you have a decision to make here if you are a guest right now. So I'm going to give you the opportunity at the break to become a patient in our office, to go all in, to push the chips in with your health here, and essentially hire us to kick your butt with your health, right? Get up in your business and make sure you do what you're supposed to do. I mean, I'm not going to beat you to death, because if that ultimately gets to a point where I'm the one that's dragging you towards health, well, that's not going to work for anybody. You're going to try to slow us down. But if you're ready to go in that direction, well, then you need a guide to help you get there, right? I have a friend that's ready to, he's climbing Mount Kilimanjaro in a couple months, 2 weeks actually. And like, you don't just go climb Mount Kilimanjaro by yourself. Like, oh, well, there's the top, let's just go that way, right? Like, you have to have a guide to get you there. You're probably going to fall off the cliff along the way, right? And so, but also if you're a patient, you have to realize that you also have a decision to make too. And listen, we do not, as your doctors, Dr. T, Dr. Joe, myself, we do not, we honor tremendously the decision that you make each and every single time you as our active patients choose to come for another adjustment, right? Realizing that you have probably 99 people around you that are saying, why are you still going? Isn't your pain gone? Like, are you seriously still paying those guys to keep going? What are they selling? What, do they lock you? Whatever. I know that you guys hear those things, right? And your family says that. Maybe it's even within your family itself. I get it. So please, like, we have tremendous gratitude and just love for each and every single time you guys choose to come back one more time. And not, whether it's the first time you walk in the office, or for some of you that are even in the audience now, the 400th time that you've chosen to come to our office, it never is. I'm not very good at expressing my emotions. You know, that's what my marriage coach tells me. So if I haven't expressed that in a while, like, let this be on the record here, okay? Is that we're very, very grateful for that. So here's how we get to the root cause, or at least do the very best job we get to the root cause of your health issues. And that is one of our core values in our office as doctors, is we relentlessly look for the root cause of your health challenges. Relentlessly, right? I eat, sleep, and when I'm out with my family or anything to do with my spirituality, which ultimately I believe my mission 100% coincides with this, with my spirituality, I eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff. That's all I do. I literally don't do anything else. And I gave up video games actually a couple months ago. So I can truly say that. Right? I eat, sleep. I was practicing this till 10 o'clock last night. We're working on this. I was up at 5:30 in the morning, running through fast. This is all I do. And that's why I believe that we get such good results, because I just don't stop. I'm like a freight train. Like, I will run through anything and plow through anything to help get people healthy and well. Even potentially sometimes for like the detriment of myself, right? It's like ultimately I get to the point where I'm like, well, they gave up a long time ago. I'm just dragging a bloody carcass through, the street, right? And it's like, hey, I gave up, Dr. B. Just let me go. Okay. All right, I'll let you go. But here's how we do that. So we do a thorough history and review system.
We want to know everything about you. I want to know about that fall when you were 6, because that might explain why you have headaches. I don't know. It's relevant. Orthopedic and neurological evaluation, very specific testing to get to the baseline of your nerve system health. We do range of motion, so how well your spine is moving. If it's not moving very well, like if you can't turn and look all the way to the edge of your shoulder, I can give you a hint right now, your spine is not perfectly healthy, okay? Palpation is really the secret sauce of chiropractors. We call it touch and tell. Many of you will get it, their patients know what I'm talking about. We'll be feeling down your spine and we'll find an area that's tender on you that you have no idea on, or you'll get adjusted and you're like, how did you even know to do it, work on that area right there? So, well, that's our secret gift, okay? That's our special sauce right there. Posture evaluation, so that is really a way we can look. Posture is the window in your spine. Probably not another, hint that's needed, but if your shoulders are like this, your spine's probably not healthy, right? Or if we look at you from the side and your head is going like this, your spine is probably not healthy either, okay? There's going to be room for improvement on that. And then the fifth one is a complete set of spinal x-rays. And I'll just be honest, 99% of people that come into our office because of lack of proper care for their spine needs both x-rays of the top and the bottom. It's just very rare that somebody doesn't need an x-ray of one area or the other. Just in the same way, if you were 50 years old and you were going to a dentist for the first time, right, he probably is going to take x-rays of your entire mouth, not just one little area, right? He's going to be like, okay, so you haven't looked at this ever before? Let's take a snapshot of the whole thing, whether it's bothering you or not. Now, if you were to go to a doctor, actually I would say not just any doctor, but ultimately a specialist, and get this type of thorough testing, spend 30, 45 minutes or even an hour with a doctor like that, without question, you would absolutely pay hundreds of dollars for doing that. In our office, what we charge for that is because we like to see families and make sure that instead of it costing $3,000 to $5,000 to $10,000 for a big family to get evaluated, what we do is we charge $220 to do that. So that includes everything that I just showed on the previous slide. A full set of x-rays, a thorough history, right? It's really the first step you take through the door to being like, I am all in. Well, let me take a step back. The first step was showing up today. The next step to get really serious about this and make sure you have a guide is to do this right here. But there are some laws in terms of healthcare as far as discounts that we can give. There's something called the law, there's a federal law against inducement, right? Meaning that there's a maximum federal discount that healthcare providers can give, and what that number is actually 60%. So we choose to do that for people that, instead of just calling or walking in, people that trust us, trusted your friend, trusted your accountability to come here today, take advantage of that, and we can do that for only $88, which is literally 60% discount off of $220. And if you do choose that you want to do that, we're going to be breaking here in about 5 minutes, and you'll be able to, the table right there where Miss Connie and Miss Keisha there in the corner, you can go over there, and what you'll do is they'll have a quick form for you to fill out to give us some information about you to get started. Obviously please write legibly. Some of you have some really funky handwriting, right? All right, so we're gonna get into now and end here with nutrition. And I know many of you have been to a nutrition talk of mine before, and so you're gonna be, I think, pleasantly surprised with some of what I'm gonna go over tonight, or today, this morning, that'll be different. And I have to tell you, so what I have been learning over the past 4 to 6 months and changing with my nutrition, this has been the single greatest change that I have personally had in the last 6 months of what I've done since I made my first initial change. And that was off of Yoplait yogurt, Mountain Dew, and processed sandwiches all the time, right? My favorite meal was I would take, of course, white bread, right? And then I would toast it, and then I would put the cheapest ham slice you could possibly get, and then a bunch of Kraft cheese, right? Then I would put it in a toaster oven, and I would melt that on there, and I would make a sandwich out of it. I would eat that once a day usually when I was in college. So it was delicious. It was delicious. But yeah, it is disgusting now that I know what I know. So shifting away from that, right, to what I did, this has really been as close to or almost equal as of a dramatic shift to what I've done, all right? And it's not dismissing what I've learned, that's how you see, but it's more of a different structure and a framework. So what we really need to focus on too, and most of this is not going to be new, but I'm going to come at it from a different perspective, okay, is that problem number one when it comes to nutrition is that it's not that we eat too many carbs, right? Carbs are definitely a buzzword right now. More importantly, it's we eat too many processed carbs, right? Carbs that you are made, not carbs that are grown or harvested. And too much sugar, of course. And what's very interesting is that it's not even carbs, right? Because when you look at something like rice, for example, there are many cultures around the world. In fact, there's I think there's 2 or almost 3 billion people on planet Earth that eat rice for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right, over in Asia, right? And they're not fat, right, or they weren't fat. They weren't fat until processed carbs entered their equation, right? So it's not just carbs, it's carbs plus processed carbs plus sugar that leads to that. And literally within a generation, the vast majority of Indians and Chinese and Japanese became overweight and even obese, and seeing the same level of growth along with that introduction of the processed carbs and the sugar on top of what they were already eating. And ultimately, too, the number, I would say even more than that, or at least it might be more, this would be more of an awakening for you guys here today, is that we eat too often. Let's go back, right? We've been taught from the minute we were born, right, or really when we could consciously think about that, is how many meals should you eat per day? 3, right? How many scientific studies do you think are out there that prove that that's what's required? 0. There's 0 scientific data that has shown that is the requirement of the human body that it needs in order for it to be the most healthy that it can be. 0 data to show that. fact, if anything, there was the opposite. And then there was this whole movement that, as we started getting fatter and more obese, well, then there was like this whole movement, we need to eat less portions, but eat more often, right? Remember, like 6 to 8 small meals a day, or whatever it is, 4 to 6 small meals a day. The problem is that every single time you eat, your body so it raises your blood sugar, and in response to that, it's going to secrete a hormone called insulin. Now, insulin is not just relevant if you're a diabetic or not. Every single one of us are alive right now, right, because of insulin, right? It is required for insulin to get sugar out of your bloodstream, glucose, right, into your cells, into your muscles, and into your brain so that you can keep taking another breath and keep moving and keep doing what you're doing, right? So insulin is a requirement for that. So the problem is that when there's excess insulin inside of your body, insulin is a storage hormone, right? So if you have more insulin production than your body needs right there, then what it's going to do is it's going to start storing fat. And actually they found one of the fattest, or the easiest and fastest ways to make someone fat, mice in laboratory studies or even in human beings, is to inject them with straight insulin. In fact, there have been several studies done where they fed mice and rats the same meals, but they injected one group with insulin, right, the exact same food, and the one group became obese very quickly, right? And we see this with diabetics, right? When they transition off of just only relying on metformin and other medications like that, and they finally get on insulin, they balloon very quickly. It's almost impossible for them to lose weight at that point. It's just a steady gain. Why? Because insulin is a storage hormone. So every time you eat, the insulin goes up, and you're going to be in fat storing mode in your body, which is not what you want. So you couple that then, and remember, listen, your insulin is secreted even when you eat healthy, okay? Even when you eat, let's say you just have only a protein meal, insulin still is secreted. Even if you were to sort of eat an avocado, right, insulin is still secreted. So it doesn't. Some of those things don't necessarily raise your blood sugar, but they raise insulin still. So where I was fundamentally wrong in, and really not looking at the complete picture, is that we always based our nutritional recommendations off of the glycemic index and blood sugar only, right? How many of you have heard of the glycemic index before, right? So, for example, white bread is high on the glycemic index. Berries are lower, right? Avocado would be really low. A banana would be really high, okay, right, on the glycemic index. But there's also something called the glycemic load, right, which that partly relates to with insulin and fiber, right? But it's really insulin that has become the problem in our society, and the number of times that insulin has to go to work inside of our body. So it's not about calories or overeating. This is another thing. This still permeates the dominant thought process today, even though there has literally been thousands of studies showing that this is completely flawed in valuing nutrition. Because what will happen is your body, as you decrease calorie intake, your body will proportionately decrease calorie expenditure. So how much calories you are burning. So if you drop your calorie intake, you go from 2,000 to 1,500, that's a 25% drop. Over time, your body will proportionally drop your caloric expenditure by 25% to match that. Why? Because it's a survival mechanism. It sees, okay, well, if I'm getting less food, well, then I sure as heck better not be burning through things as fast as I was before. So this is how you guys have all been there. I guarantee you every single one of you have tried this before. You reduce your calories, and you know what? It does work initially. I'm not disproving that. It will always work, but then what happens? You flatline, don't you? And the only way you go then down further is you have to drop the calories again, and then you go down a little bit more, and then you flatline again. Why? Because your body is continually adjusting to what information you're giving it. But the problem is then, remember, think of survivability here. Think of your body, God making our bodies very smart. It knows what it's doing. As it's sensing less food, it's putting mechanisms in the body to protect that. The minute then you have one day, sometimes even one meal where the calories shoot up, what happens to the weight? It spikes back up. Because your caloric expenditure dropped way down, and then also the calories jack up. And think about it. It's not that your body all of a sudden wants to gain weight because, that's going to look bad. But it's like, great, I'm going to take advantage of this energy increase that I can get and put on some storage here, right? Stock up. Why? Because you've been telling me that I've been not getting enough food or less food for days, weeks, months, or maybe even years at this point. You cannot outsmart your body. You will lose every single time. Or if you try to force it with, appetite, destimulation, right, or using medications, right, fen and all those things, then the side effects are horrific, and usually it ends in death, right? You can't outsmart your body through normal means. Here's a way for you to remember this. If you were making $100,000 a year and all of a sudden your salary is dropped down to $25,000 per year, you could not keep spending $100,000 per year for very long before you would go bankrupt. Your body knows this principle, okay? And so what it has is this thing, and we call it the adipostat, just like a thermostat, right? And so if you have your thermostat set in your house at, let's just say, 72 degrees, well, if you get warmer, the AC kicks on, right? And what does it do? It brings it back down to that temperature. If it gets colder, it goes down to, let's say, 65, 66. Heat kicks on and brings it back up. So every single one of us here in this room right now have roughly a set weight point called your adipostat for that set amount, okay? Let's just say it's 170. So what does that mean? I can almost bet, and some of you will relate to this very strongly, if you cheat over Christmas and you gain 10 pounds over that time frame, and then you get a little bit serious, right, or maybe even hardcore, I bet you for most of you, you can drop that 10 pounds relatively easily, get back to 170, right? But then you kind of hit a wall again. It doesn't continue at the same weight, right? Or let's say you grind, like really grind down to 160, right? And you get to that point, but then all it takes is 1 week of vacation, and boom, you pop back up to 170. How many of you can relate to that? This is kind of bouncing around, not going too far away from that set weight point. That's because what's happened is your hormones, based on the information you've been giving it, is locking in that set weight point for you for your protection, right, for your survivability. So that if you have plenty of food, you can store it really easily. If you go through periods without food, right, if you have lots of food, you can kind of burn it off fairly easily. If you go periods without food, you can store it very quickly. So the only way to truly change that set weight point is we have to get hormones under control, not calories, right? We have to change where the thermostat setting is at. So overeating, believe it or not, and this has been studied like crazy, eating huge amounts of portions does not cause you to continually gain weight, but eating too often does. So a study back in 1960 took lean college students and fed them 4,000 to 10,000 calories per day. Think how much pizza, beer, and whatever else that is, right? Okay? They fed them that. They initially gained a little bit of weight, okay? But then they all plateaued at that weight, even though they were still eating, and some were eating literally 10,000 calories per day. And what happened was that for most of them, their metabolism literally doubled, right? Because remember, it's survivability of the body. It's not stupid. It's like, okay, well, I'm getting all this energy in. Well, then what good? I can be burning energy like crazy. Your body has plenty of things it can be burning energy in favor of. And that was just one study. There's been a bunch. So the metabolism increased by 50%. And what's interesting, too, is that people that are obese have a dramatically higher resting metabolism rate than thin people do. Like, just keep it in place. So the only reason why that people would be continuing to gain weight is because they're continually destroying and damaging your hormones and making it worse and worse and worse, and the body's having to go along with that. So being fat is a hormonal problem, not a caloric or even an overeating problem. Been disproven time and time again. And for the geeks and the nerds in here, I can show you where all that research is, okay? But if you try to win the calorie game or the portion game, right, you'll lose almost every single time, right? Or you'll only win for a short period of time. And you know what? You know what's even crazier? Your metabolism and your adipostat also has less than 5% to do with how often and how much you exercise. Right? Okay? On average, Americans exercise 135 days out of the year. Do you know where we rank in the world in that? Number 1. We exercise more than any other country in the world. I posted this last night for fun on Facebook. You're like, Denmark or Japan because they're thinner or whatever it is, and we rank more than I think by 20 days than the next highest country per year. So, and also exercise since the 60s and the 70s has actually increased amongst Americans by 32%. We exercise 32% more than we did 50 years ago. But what's interesting is that our obesity rates have gone up about that same percentage, right? So it's zero effect on the slowing down. The Hadza tribe in Tanzania, they walk 15 to 20 miles per day just to be able to gather their food. When they were tested, they had the exact same metabolism as the average American, the same metabolic rate as American, even though the fact that they are. When is the last time you walked 15 to 20 miles in a day? You know what I mean? Like maybe one time at Disney World, that you probably didn't even get 15 to 20. Right? Most of you don't even do that in a week, right? Some of you in a month, right? Okay? Let's be honest. They do that per day, same metabolic rate as we do. So what is the moral of the story? Abs are made in the kitchen, right? And we estimate, if you want an actual percentage number, it's 95% is nutritionally based, 5% exercise, okay? So the problem then, and I'm not a baseball guru, if you will, but this is a good analogy that I heard. It's roughly 5% of the plays in baseball revolve around bunting, okay? So it wouldn't make sense, even though bunting's important, right? It wouldn't make sense to spend 50% of your time training on bunting during practice, right? You guys get with me on that, okay? So you need to be focused on what's important. Now, does this mean that, I guess not with the exercise? Well, yeah, listen, it doesn't have anything to do with your metabolism, but it has everything to do with whether you can move and play with your grandkids, have a healthy heart, right? Can be enjoying your life and have lots of energy, okay? So that's why that's important. But in terms of metabolism, that is not your missing link. That blew me away. I literally almost fell off my chair when I read that, okay? I knew nutrition was very important and far more important than exercise, but I had no idea that by exercising more, it actually did not make your metabolism go up. So it's all about the hormones. So let's review real quick. Fastest way to increase weight is to increase or add insulin. Okay, again, all the type 2 diabetics that get to this point, right, they pack on weight super fast and move forward. You can't outsmart your body. You won't. Because there are major regulatory systems in place that regulate your weight. We eat too often versus too much. We eat too many carbs and sugars and actually not enough fat. And the advice from Big Food, unfortunately, enhances their profits versus our health. And what I mean by Big Food? Well, my goodness, right? Does anyone have any clue of how big a business the snacking industry is alone? Right? So of course it makes sense to tell us a snack, right? Or think about the breakfast industry, right? Think about, that's there's entire grocery store sections devoted to just breakfast, which, let's call breakfast what it is. It's dessert in disguise for most of us, right? So you can't tell me, a healthy breakfast, the most important meal of the day is when you have, sugary, super processed pancakes with sugary maple syrup on top of that, and say I'm fueling myself up for the day, right? Yeah. So, I say big food kind of in quotes, kind of we've heard of the term big pharma, right? And again, this is not a conspiracy about them trying to kill us, but we have to understand there is major money and major incentive by telling us to be, and you've all heard, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Well, show me the research study that proves that. You won't find it. And if you do, you'll find more contradictory studies that show that it's not as important as we might think. So by following the advice that have been following by Big Food, by extremely flawed medical guidelines, right? The food pyramid, all the subsidies that happened for corn and wheat after World War II to feed us, to make sure that as our country was beginning to have food shortages and rations, so they subsidized all that so that they could feed us, right? All those things they've been doing is pouring gasoline on the fire for really the last 60 and especially in the last 30 to 40 years. Okay, and we don't have to be. Nobody here is. I can promise you, right? You guys wouldn't deny the fact that we're losing the battle more and more and more, despite more knowledge, right? Because we keep snacking, we keep eating breakfast, we keep eating 12 times a day. I was like the king of snacking. I luckily I only ate healthy snacks. Like my snacks were like nuts, Granny Smith apples, berries, maybe some almond flour crackers with some organic raw cheese, right? But I was like, I had a PhD in snacking. Because I without realizing it, I replaced my food addictions to Yoplait yogurt and Mountain Dew with just snacking, right? I turned one addiction for another. I said it jokingly, but actually that's what happened, okay? And that's what happens to you. We got to make sure we're breaking those addictive cycles. So here's the key. This is what you all came for today. Here's the solution. It's fasting. And before your stinking thinking gets in the way, and I know you already started, that's why I paused, because I knew your mind already started going there. In fact, I'll wait one more minute to see if somebody wants to walk out and leave. That'll be a good time. It's time to not put new information into old wineskins. It's time to throw those out and come with a complete blank slate in regards to when, how you eat, and of course too also what you eat. Because remember this here. What is fasting? This is not starving. Big difference. This is voluntarily not eating food for a varying amount of time. It's choosing to, not starving. Do not confuse fasting with starving. And remember that fasting has been around forever, actually, since the beginning of human beings. Because think about a time other than the last 100 years when humans had more than a day's amount of food inside of their house. Most of you, I guarantee you, have at least a week's worth of food in your house right now. Or if you don't, you're going to go later today or tomorrow and buy a week's worth of food at a time. Some of you that crush Costco, right, you have a month's worth of food in your house. 100 years ago, that did not exist, right? And so the only reason why this runs up into barriers of limiting beliefs and resistance in your mind is because the availability for food has been ever present throughout your entire life. You've never, again, probably everyone in this room has never not known a time when you can eat when you want and probably shoot what you wanted to. Yeah. I was in New York City, it's like, man, like any time of day, I could have gotten not just like food, but like, I wanted Indian food at 3 in the morning, you could find it, right? You want, like I want Persian for dinner, you can find, unprecedented access to that. Most major religions, in fact, to my knowledge, all the major religions talk about fasting as a vital part of the spiritual practices. I mean, when the Bible talks about, Jesus fasting in the desert, that wasn't like, he had a bottle of Gatorade and like some fruit snacks to keep him going, right? He was fasting. Fasting is fasting. It's not like fasting like with snacks. Like he was fasting. So it's been majorly forgotten about the importance of this too. And again, it goes back to thinking bad belief systems that if you skip one stinking meal, that's going to wreck your metabolism. Okay, show me the research. Doesn't exist. But big food has told you that. Or if you have a snack in between your meals to keep your energy up. No, what that does is it keeps your blood sugar and your insulin up and keeps you addicted to food and wanting to have more and more and more. So the benefits of fasting is that in many states of compromised health, even helping to reverse chronic dis-ease, which means lack of ease, right? Lack of normal function in your body, and absolutely lose weight. So there's many different types. There's intermittent, there's like bone broth fasting, there's water fasting, There's actually something that I learned about recently called dry fasting. We're going to talk about a few of these here today and where to start at. But this will be revolutionary, and I would even argue this is the only way to reset your body's adipostat for good, right, or permanently do that. So let's go through some myths. When you fast, you'll lose muscle, right? If you don't eat enough, you aren't going to get protein, well, your muscle's going to break down and you're going to become frail and thin. You'll be in starvation mode, right? You're missing meals, so your metabolism is actually going to go up. We'll go down, sorry. You're going to be overwhelmed with hunger when you do fasting. Like, you literally will get shaky and pass out and your blood sugar will drop. I know you think, I used to think that. When you do start eating again, you're going to pig out. You're going to be deprived of nutrients. Well, if I don't fast, how am I going to get my vitamin B6 from the berries that I'm eating, right? So my body will wither away and my nails will fall off and my hair will fall out, right? Or that it's dangerous. All untrue. If those were the case, our species would not have survived. Again, remember, think about this. Thousands of years ago, cavemen didn't have a caveman refrigerator, right? They couldn't just be like, oh, I feel like meat right now. Let me just go to this corner of my cave and grab meat whenever a caveman wanted cave meat, right? It did not exist at that point. They might make a kill, pig out and eat, and they might go several days before they come across something they can eat again, right? Our species would not have survived if any of these things were true. So why do you fast? So if research on food is clear on one thing and one thing only, and what I mean by that is that, you've all heard research, eggs are good, oh, but eggs are bad, right? Oh, coffee's good, coffee's bad. Oh, blah, blah, sugar's good, sugar, whatever it is, right? There is near 100%, and I've yet to find one that goes against this, is that eating less and less often, those people live longer. Every research study that's ever been done shows this. There's a book called The Blue Zones, which studied portions of the world that have above average or very high concentrations of centenarians, so people that live over 100 years old. And it's escaping me right now, but there's another whole book that was written on this right here. I think it might be called The Longevity Diet, if I'm remembering that correctly, or that might be the subtitle. But it talked about eating less and less often as a definitive, black and white, guaranteed way to help you live longer than you would otherwise. Also, why do you fast? It helps you identify where your psychological food cravings are coming from. I don't mean physiological, I mean psychological. Like mentally addictive, not physically addictive. You'll decrease your insulin levels. You have to, because if you're not putting food in your body as often, well, your body doesn't just squirt insulin out for fun, okay? Helps with weight loss and management. I know some of you might have seen this on Facebook. I just recently, as part of fasting, I lost 10 pounds in 12 days. Okay? Now, I've been training my body metabolically to get to that point, and so for me, just to give perception, I went from 153 down to 143 in about 12 days. In 3 of those days, I was in New York, and if I'm being honest, I had 3 margaritas, a little bit of rice, because we were staying in Chinatown, so that was kind of not much else on the menu where we were at. And so I cheated, okay? And I still lost, so who knows what I would have if I would have lost that. Body fat percentage went down by 4%, okay? Which is also, I went from, I believe, 12 down to 8, or 13 to 9, something like that. Which is tough. It's tough to do that normally otherwise. Like, there's no way I could have worked out enough to see that level of result. Certainly not in 12 days, okay? It decreases your insulin resistance, or in other words, it increases your insulin sensitivity, so it means you become more sensitive, so the faster your body can integrate insulin, it gets out of the bloodstream, it doesn't create fat storage, it improves your neurological and brain health, and it absolutely decreases systemic inflammation levels. Why? Because insulin left in your system too long becomes highly inflammatory. And then my favorite thing about this, and ultimately the reason why I started this, I did not start this for me personally because I need to, I didn't realize I needed to get rid of psychological food cravings. I realized that after the fact. But it was for me more to this bottom one here, tapping the survivability mechanisms of the body, mainly two things that are known as autophagy and then stem cell production. Okay, that's the main reason why I started this, is because I want, to live to at least 100, and these are some guaranteed things to help you increase your odds of doing that. Okay, so that's why I did it. There are things I really don't have going on, but those are all benefits that happen with this. So just another visual for here, right? So the one on the left there would show eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Insulin's on the left, right? Hours of time was on the right. So it takes a good amount of time for insulin after a meal to get out of your bloodstream. Roughly about, everybody's a little bit different, but it's about 6 to 8 hours, okay? Before insulin, when you eat, let's say you eat breakfast, it takes about 6 to 8 hours before insulin will be all the way back down to a normal resting level. Well, the problem is most of you are eating sooner than 6 hours for your next meal. Even if you're not snacking in the morning, you're having lunch sooner than 6 hours. So before that insulin's even gone down, it's actually going up again, right? And so it never gets a chance to get down to the green, which is going to be the fat burning zone or the mode there, right? So low levels of insulin is when your body can burn fat. So for example, an alternative here would be looking at something like intermittent fasting, and when you would be not eating breakfast. And does breakfast have to be the one that has to go? I would say for most people, because that's probably where you're most making the mistakes there. And I think it's just easier to eat lunch and dinner just from like a social standpoint. But then what happens is that after you eat dinner, by the time you go to bed, those insulins are getting down the level to almost nothing. And then the whole middle of the night, your body is fasting and it can be burning instead of storing. It can't do the same. It can't both store and burn at the same time. It can only do one or the other. Do you see now how when you look at this, like the one on the left, how if you throw a snack mid-afternoon in there, how it really screws you up, even if it's just a handful of berries, right? So here's how your body responds neurochemistry, or like I should say biochemistry-wise, to fasting. Some of you might glaze over a little bit, but I want you to show that there is sound science to this. This is not theory, okay? This is science, not theory. So when you eat feeding, right, or eating, the insulin levels rise, glucose, aka sugar, goes into the muscles and the brain. It goes other places, but those are the two main places that it goes, okay? To help fuel them for energy, right? So that it can power you, you can go on with your day. Now extra glucose that does not get removed from the cells is going to get shoved to the liver, and it's going to get stored as glycogen. Now I want you to think of glycogen like your wallet, okay? If you have cash in your wallet, then as long as you have cash in your wallet, then you probably don't need to go to the bank and get more cash out of the bank. Like if you always have cash just being replenished in your wallet there, you'll never go to the bank for the savings, right, to pull money out of savings. Well, in the same way, if you always have glycogen, your body's always going to use that first because it's an easier process and it won't go to fat. So if you always have glycogen, you will never burn fat. Okay, you follow me? Glycogen equals no fat burning. So after that first phase, then you're going to the post-absorptive phase. So that's 6 to 24 hours after fasting begins. Remember, insulin levels start going down, and glycogen that's remaining inside of your liver and some muscles is going to get broken down into sugar. Okay, so your body's like, okay, I'm not getting what I need from what I'm eating now, so I'm going to take this reservoir, I'm going to open up the wallet. It's like, right? It's like the kids are coming to ask dad for money. It's like, all right, I got something here, so I'm going to give it to you, and it converts some of that glycogen or all that glycogen into sugar. But then once you burn through that glycogen now, right, your body's still humming, it's still running, it still needs things from you, okay? So now you go into a process that's called gluconeogenesis. So let's break down that word. Genesis means creation, right? Gluco means sugar, neo means new, so it basically means the creation of new sugar. And that happens between 24 to 48 hours. So the liver is going to make the glucose from the glycogen, the remaining parts of it. And in non-diabetics, it will start to go down, and then glycogen within pretty much every human being will be burned through all their glycogen within 2 days. Most people get through it within a day. All right. So what happens when you get through your glycogen now? For those that have been paying attention, now where are you going to start going to? AKA ketosis. Okay, which is alternatively switching your body from sugar as a fuel source into fat, ketone bodies. So over the next 1 to 3 days, fat starts getting broken down for energy. ketones are produced, and they can go as high as 700% up, right? And what's really interesting is that ketones are actually the preferred fuel for your body. It burns cleaner. Think of like, dirty, gasoline versus clean gasoline. It burns cleaner. Ketones are the preferred fuel by your brain so if you struggle with brain fog, sluggish thinking, right? It's because your body's running off sugar when it should be trying to be running off of ketones. And around this time here, it's going to vary for everybody. And the only way to know for sure is you do testing, right? Where you start tapping into autophagy, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. I love that thing. I love autophagy. And you start getting stem cell production, which we'll also talk about in a few minutes. I just want to show you when that happens. When you start going to over 5 days there, now you start getting what's called protein conservation status, which means that you get an HGH, human growth hormone increase, okay, to preserve your muscle mass. Remember, human growth hormone is what Barry Bonds injected himself. The baseball players that crank home runs over the fence, and they build muscle, okay, and it gives you energy. And then you're at maximum production of autophagy and stem cell. Your body can recycle up to 80 grams of protein per day. So, well, I need protein. Well, no, your body has plenty of it inside of it, okay? Plenty of it. So that's how your body responds to fasting. It's been studied left, right, and center, okay? And they know that it's safe and that it's good. This is a normal process that can and should be happening. Not all the time. You don't have to be that all the time. You should be doing this on occasion. So here are the health benefits of fasting. Again, if you're nerds and you want the research, I can point you in the right direction of this, but look at all of them that have been studied and been found to be scientifically proven. Insulin better, glucose is better, body fat going down, weight going down, CRP is C-reactive protein, was a cardiovascular inflammatory marker. Elevated CRP leads to heart attacks. Better blood pressure, better triglycerides, better cholesterol levels, better leptin sensitivity and ghrelin sensitivity. Human growth hormone goes up, better gene expression, prevents cancer, improves brain health. It helps prevent Alzheimer's and neurodegenerative diseases. How many of you would like some of those benefits? Yeah, well, you're in the right place, okay? But this is how we got to do it. And this is, a lot of you maybe have seen this here too, posted on Facebook, and it's a real study. So this is the link to cancer here. So fasting for 3 days, this was done through a water fast, so all the subjects did was only water for 3 days, okay? They found that their immune system began to regenerate. They actually started producing immune stem cells, which stem cells in the immune system have the ability to become whatever the body needs. Whatever the body needs. If it needs to become something to kill the virus, it'll turn into that. If it needs something to kill a cancer cell, it'll become that. Bacteria, it'll become that. Only 3 days that happened. Here was the study. It was in Cell. Right, prolonged fasting reduces yada yada yada, yada yada yada, regeneration and reverse immunosuppression. Okay, they did this specifically in cancer patients. They found that their white blood cell counts improved, and it was amazing, right? And that was just 3 days of doing this. So this is where you start. Okay, you don't start with a 3-day water fast, although some of you could, but this I would not recommend it. Where you start is intermittent fasting. So here's what that looks like. This is a daily fasting schedule. This can be done 7 days out of the week. And I would recommend you do it that way, at least to start. So what you do is you eat only within certain windows, okay? I'd say most of you should start with an 8-hour window, but you can diminish that down to even a 4-hour window. So therefore what you do is you're fasting for 16 to 20 hours a day then when you do that, right? So you're getting into some of those benefits that I was talking about earlier. Like I said, you usually skip breakfast. It's just the easiest to do because most of us are busy in the morning, and so it's just like you get up, you go on with your day, and in the beginning you're going to feel a little bit hungry because your body's looking for that dopamine hit. It's not a physiological hunger; it's a psychological hunger. We'll talk about the difference. You kind of get going, and then listen, you just got to make it to lunch, right? You don't snack either, though, right? So you only eat those 2 meals. So you only eat lunch, you only eat dinner. So you don't snack in between that window, even though that is your window, okay? Because again, you're gonna hurt yourself with the insulin response by doing that. So you're gonna get your insulin drop. Obviously, good nutrition in this framework here is only going to make it better. All right, but in some studies, they didn't even change their people's nutrition. They just changed how they were doing this, and they saw results. Okay, I recommend doing both. Now, outside of the window, you can do black coffee, like herbal teas. I wouldn't do fruit-based teas because that can trigger a little bit of fructose response and knock you out. That's advanced, but just stick herbal tea. Apple cider vinegar, salt, and those are things that are helpful for electrolyte replenishment. Okay, so black coffee, right? Plain tea. Now, if you're doing this and you're not losing weight, some of you might not be able to do that, right? Coffee for some people can actually take you out of a fasting state. Everybody's a little bit different, but in general, you can start off with that. Well, wait a minute, I'm going to get all shaky. I'm going to drop dead in the middle of the presentation at work. Right? I know you're thinking it. I know you're thinking it. You won't, okay? You won't. Remember, our species would not have survived if missing one meal would lead to your death, okay? Or your inability to perform. Think about a caveman that misses one meal and now he's got to go hunting. He's all shaky and fainty and dizzy and headachy, right? Good luck trying to kill a moving animal if that's your status, okay? They've actually found that as your survivability kicks in, your adrenaline actually goes up and you become more focused. Because think about it, your body's like, well, we got to make something happen here, right? And so therefore you become more sharp, more focused, more the performance goes up. So if you want to be better at your job, right? Boom, right here. So then the next level, so we do intermittent fasting, right? I recommend you want to do that at least for 30 days because for most of you, breaking the habit of snacking is going to be a challenge. Okay? And you're going to have to give yourself grace because so many of you are locked in a routine now where you do nuts the minute you feel hungry, you do a handful of berries the minute you feel hungry, you make a little shake the minute you feel hungry thinking it's because you need it. You don't need it, all right? So you got to break that habit. Now we start preparing for extended fast. So we'd be looking at a 24-hour fast. So with this, it's actually a lot easier than it sounds. And I'm telling you, every single one of you in here has done a 24-hour fast once, if not a dozen times. Think about the last time you were really sick. Did you eat? Did you die? No. And you know what's really interesting? You know what's really interesting? Oh, how about this? Did you lose weight? You know what's really interesting? Think about it from this standpoint. Think about us talking just a few minutes ago about the immune system. Why do you think that you don't have an appetite while you're sick? Because logic, the first-hand logic would be like, well, if I give my body energy, it's actually going to have more energy to increase my immune system to fight this off, right? Wouldn't that be sort of like first-level logic, right? But if you think about the reason why your appetite goes way down, maybe it's trying to tell you something that when I can get through all my glycogen very quickly, then I can start activating my survivability mechanisms, aka stem cells, aka helping fight this thing off faster. Right? Remember, is your body dumb or incredibly smart? It's incredibly smart. Turn to your neighbor and say your body's smart. Turn to your neighbor and say 24 hours is not a long time. So let me prove this to you, okay? You go dinner to dinner, right? And I found the easiest way to do this is you go Sunday to Monday. Why? Because you have a nice dinner on Sunday. Monday morning is probably very busy for 99% of you. You could not think about food, at least for a little bit. So you go through breakfast, you hit lunch. First time you're going to be like, I'd like to eat right now. But you can anchor to the fact, I just got to make it in a few more hours to get to dinner, right? So it's more like, it's just a mental. I promise you, physically it'll be nothing, right? You're not going to die. So, but mentally, you're like, you know what? You'll get through the morning, almost no problems, right? Because you'll be busy, you'll be on with your day, you'll be taking the kids to school, you'll be at work, whatever it is. You hit lunchtime, and by that time your body's like, okay, you skipped breakfast before. I see what you're doing here. But usually you give me lunch. So where's my lunch? Where's my dang lunch, right? Not because you need it, but because you want it, right? Your brain is like, I like that dopamine serotonin hit. But you're like, no, we're okay, we're going to make it to dinner, right? And you make it to dinner, and then it's okay. Like there are many cultures, they just do dinner to dinner. That's all they do. Boom, 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 right? And you can't do that indefinitely, really. That's a great, even long-term strategy to eat is by just only eating dinner. The next one would be a 36-hour fast. This one's a little tougher because easy to get through breakfast, mostly easy to get through lunch, a lot tougher to skip a dinner. So you like that full warm belly feeling when you go to bed, right? So what I recommend here is when this, you just don't even go in the kitchen, right? Because if you're in the kitchen, food starts talking to you, I'm telling you what. It's like, like Toy Story, right? It's like toys, they talk, but not when you're around, but when you're not eating, food literally starts talking to you, I think. Yeah, exactly what it does. Yeah. They have their own special seductive language. Well, so what you do then, like an example, you would eat Monday dinner, but then, hey, at least this time you get to eat breakfast, right, on Wednesday. So now you've been fasting 36 hours, and you burn through all your glycogen, and you get into a heavy fasting state while you're sleeping. So now you're burning fat literally while you're sleeping. How cool is that? So when you can do these things here, and again, this is not a physical challenge, it's a psychological challenge. Now you can start going for extended periods. So the benefits, everything I showed there earlier, those get longer, those get more pronounced. These types can easily be worked into a daily routine. I'm telling you, Sunday dinner to Monday dinner is easy. Some of you in this room can easily do that, even starting tomorrow and pull off just a 24-hour fast and see how you do. Okay? I promise you'll be pleasantly surprised. Now, monitoring ketones and blood sugar levels, especially as you go longer, is really, really, really important. And why do I say that? Not just if you're a diabetic. If you're a diabetic, it's incredibly important, right? Because if you're taking medication to lower your blood sugar, and you start lowering your blood sugar, you will go down like a roller coaster, right? So be very, very, very careful. In fact, if you are a diabetic, I would recommend working with your doctor to do this. Okay, I don't have a waiver here, so I'm saying it on video, right? Word of law. Okay, work with your doctor on this and tell them you're going to start doing this. In general, what you do is you start really cutting back on your medication, right? And monitor your blood sugar very regularly. So now we talk about extended fast. So we're talking about 3 and 5 days longer. And hey, just so you know, I might as well jump to the ending, and not that I'm suggesting anybody in here do this. There have been individuals that have literally lived off of water for an entire year. Yeah. In fact, the longest recorded is 382 days with just water. Now, full disclosure, that person was very obese, right? So they had, that's what I'm saying, nobody in here will need to do that or will be doing that. But just to show you that you literally won't die, okay? So if you look on the little graph here on the right there, you see that time-restricted feeding, Dr. Joe, time-restricted feeding, right, 12 to 16 hours. And then you get 1 day, which is more intermittent, 2 to 3 days, short or intermediate, 4 to 5 days. So what happens is beyond the whole time there being weight management and metabolic health improvements, around 2-3 days you start tapping into that autophagy and the stem cell-based rejuvenation. And refeeding, so coming off of an extended fast, is really important, okay? I can tell you this from first-hand knowledge, okay? The first time I ate a fast, I did a 48-hour fast, I was like, oh my gosh, again, it was interesting, I did not physically feel the need for hunger, it was more of a mental need for hunger. And so what I did was, I had a whole bunch of stuff. I was like, oh, I want some of this, some of that. I went to the bathroom like probably 15 times that night, okay? So what you need to be eating off an extended fast is a high-fat, low-protein, if anything, a no-protein, healthy carbohydrate. So this last time, I just did 3 days. I had bone broth and I had cauliflower for dinner. That's it, okay? And it was like the best thing I've ever tasted in my entire life. It's so cool. Because your taste buds change, right? They change. So extended fasting benefits now, we start seeing growth hormone shoot up by thousands of %, which means muscle growth, fat burning. That's what human growth hormone does. inflammation dramatically goes down. You tap into your visceral fat. Visceral fat is the fat that will kill you. It's the fat that surrounds your organs, that becomes hormonal, that smothers your organs to death, for lack of a better term. Okay, that's the stuff that will kill you. You get into a euphoric mental clarity. Remember, your ketones are your brain's preferred source of fuel, so it's loving that. It's like a high, almost. Your insulin sensitivity gets way better. Your digestive system gets a chance to improve. I'm from the north. We have to fix potholes every spring and summer and fall, right, from all the ice and the damage there. You can't fix potholes on a road if you keep letting cars drive over them. You can't heal your digestive system if food is continually passing through it. So it gives your body a chance to repair. Remember, your stomach lining can repair itself within days. But not if you keep abusing it, right? And then, honestly, it improves the mental relationship with food. And you'll probably, throughout this process, realize how toxic of a truly toxic of a relationship we have. We bow down at the altar of our refrigerator in our pantry, right, way too often. It has way more power on us than we even know. So here was my ketone levels the other day after a 3-day fast, 5.2, which is insanely high. I was like a freaking freight train burning fat at that point. That's why I lost 10 pounds in 12 days at the end of it, okay? So now I'm going to play a video about autophagy and show you the benefits of that, because this is something else that every single one of you are going to want to tap into.
We're going to talk about the major benefits of something called autophagy and exactly what autophagy really is, okay? So in the cell, you have something called the lysosome. And lysosome is like the garbage disposal. It's like the recycler, which takes all the damaged parts and breaks it down, has all these enzymes, and then it spits it out as free fatty acids and amino acids, which are the building blocks to make body tissue. At this point, they're pushed out to different parts of the body in which you have cellular remodeling. So just imagine in your house, you have a garbage disposal, you put your garbage in there, and let's say it comes out as great wood, nails, raw material to then build your new kitchen, your new bathroom, and other rooms in your house. Well, that's exactly what autophagy is, which it takes garbage and makes it into new, good raw material so you can then build new cells. So it's very anti-aging. It's very good to protect the brain cells, to regrow new brain cells and nerve cells. It's great for the heart to regrow new heart cells. So it's very protective against the immune system as well. So what it'll do, it'll take defective, damaged parts, push it into the garbage disposal, and intracellular pathogens like microbes and fungus and yeast and viruses and all sorts of things, and it's going to recycle that in this powerful lysosome. And then we have something called misfolded proteins. Now, what does that mean? Well, in your body, you have all these structural parts. You have different parts of the cell, and they're all different types of combinations of proteins. They basically have different shapes. So when these proteins are not shaped correctly, that would be called a misfolded protein, okay? And those build up, they accumulate, and they develop into this bigger piece of protein called amyloids, okay? Amyloid deposits are what you see in the brain of an Alzheimer's patient, Parkinson's. A lot of times you see it in diabetics with the arteries, cataracts. There's a whole bunch of diseases called amyloid diseases in which this kind of plaquing or protein plaquing plugs up the body, okay? And those are basically just the accumulation of misfolded proteins. And these proteins can be very, very toxic, okay? So your cells can take these, recycle them into new raw material that can then be used for rebuilding. So the question is, what would cause an accumulation of these misfolded proteins, which would be damage to the mitochondria coming from high levels of oxidative stress, usually from high insulin, okay? And I've done videos on this before. We talk about the connection between insulin resistance, which is high insulin, or high insulin, and Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Well, this is why, because of these proteins that get shaped incorrectly and they plug up the whole system. So you can see there's some major benefits for autophagy. You have neural protection for your brain and nervous system, regrowing of brain cells, cardioprotective for the heart. You have immune protection, it's anti-aging, and the list goes on and on and on. And of course, the biggest thing that will trigger, the most potent thing that triggers autophagy is fasting and intermittent fasting. Okay? Another reason why you need to start doing intermittent fasting.
Pretty cool, huh? Like your body literally does that on its own when it's given the right environment. So we talk about the fountain of youth, right? It is inside of you. So just a quick recap. So autophagy prevents cancer, enhances muscle performance, neurodegenerative diseases, regulates inflammation. How many of you are struggling with arthritic joints? Yeah? Okay, it helps with that because it cleans out those damaged proteins and gives the body the ability to remake it. Anti-aging and increases cellular energy. Okay? This was discovered back in 2016 as a Nobel Prize. It's very recent, which is why you're starting to see fast and stuff kind of creep up as you go on. Now, stem cells, I think probably all of you have heard of stem cells to some degree, but what's beautiful about stem cells is they are the body's universal cell that can literally become exactly what it needs, okay? So meaning stem cells can become blood cells, liver cells, muscle cells, neurons, right? So the more stem cells that you can produce, the more, whatever the gaps are in your health right now, with the weak organs, the weak areas of your body, you literally have the chance to be replenished and be made new again, literally made new again, right? I mean, you can go, now they do stem cell injections, which cost about $2 to $3 grand a pop, but recognize your body makes this stuff. It makes it, okay? Or you can get the injections, up to you. Which, that's not natural, right? We're talking about this is your body's natural ability to do this right here. Now, quick word on hunger, because I don't know, all of you are, as I've been talking about fast, you probably all got real hungry, didn't you? Right? There's a major difference between psychological and physiological hunger. Psychological is like, I need to eat when you really don't need to eat. When you understand that hunger always comes in waves, meaning it will come and it will go, then you'll be okay. And I'm telling you, as it comes, it usually will go. The longest I had it last was no more than 30 minutes. That's it. Favorite show on TV, it was gone. Okay? So knowing that as it comes, it will also go as well. And it will come less often the more that you train your body to be fasting. Because if you've been training to eat all the time, well then of course it's going to want that. But if you train it to fast, well then it knows not to waste energy sending you a signal you're not going to respond to. Does that make sense, right? Your body's very smart, very efficient. So it's going to help you, you won't disrupt your routine, right? It's hard in the beginning, but it gets easier and easier and easier. And as it says, this too shall pass, okay? Now a quick word on what we eat. What do you eat? The Max Living Advanced Plan. Most of you have that in your book, but it's not necessarily a keto diet, for those of you that are familiar with that term, but it would be, as you would guess, low in processed carbs, okay? No grains at all, because that'll take you out of fasting faster than anything. Many healthy fats, no man-made damaged fats, a moderate amount of naturally raised proteins like grass-fed beef, wild-caught fish, things like that. Only low sugar fruits and berries, and it's extremely high in vegetables. So that should be the major portion of your diet. Now, monitoring yourself with ketones and blood glucose levels, right? Here's the numbers you're looking for. So for a normal person, healthy person, 70 to 90 VGL stands for blood glucose level. VGL is considered to be normal, 70 to 90, if that's your range there. Now, when you become fat adapted, kind of AKA getting in a ketogenic state, the numbers can go way down. So for me, at the end of my 3-day fast, I forgot to take a picture of it, because I was trying to get 2 readings on one blood finger prick, right? Mine was 66, okay? And some of you would hear that and be like, oh my God, you'd be like all shaking. Like, no, we adjusted hundreds of people those 3 days while I was fasting. In fact, I ran 4.8 miles one day, 4.2 miles another day, completely fasted. Not food in my stomach one bit, right? So it's because I am fat adapted, so my body got in there. And then what happens then is you go into keto, break down fatty acids, right? You want to look for levels. 1.5 to 3 is known as true ketogenesis. 1.5 to 3 on ketones. Blood ketone levels is ketogenesis, but you can get up to 5. I've seen people at 7 or 8, right, from that. Now, to get into autophagy, there's a formula, okay? So what you do is you take your blood glucose level, divide it by 18, and then that number you divide by your ketone level. And if you're less than 1, your body is in the state he talked about there as autophagy. So for me, when I was the other day, I was at 66 blood glucose level. I divided that by 18, and I divided that number by 5.2. My number was 0.7. So I was officially in autophagy at that point, meaning my weak cells are being destroyed and broken down, and garbage disposal, right, and then coming out as healthy building blocks in the form of amino acids, free fatty acids, right, to be whatever the body needed to make me healthy, happy, and stronger, right? That's what I was doing. So what I recommend you all get that really want to get in touch with this is get a marker, a reader, right, a device. So there's one that I use that I like. It's called the Keto Mojo. You can get it off Amazon. It's literally the screenshots off Amazon. It can test both glucose and ketones, okay, on the same device. You need different strips, okay? And when you do order this, you do get a little starter kit that comes with some strips. The monitor itself is not that expensive. The strips are what's expensive, okay? But you don't need to be testing yourself 15 times a day. Like, I only tested my ketones at the end of 3 days. I didn't care what it was on day 1.5, right? I didn't care what my blood sugar was on the day and a half. Now, again, as you get started, it is good to do that. So if you're worried about coffee and you're not losing weight because you're still doing coffee, well, then I would recommend drink coffee, test your blood sugar afterwards, see if it reacts. Some of you might be really surprised. And so there are strips there too. If you need help with the ordering, for the glucose strips are not expensive. It's the keto strips that are about 99 cents a piece. But again, you don't have to check it that often. You really don't. It's not worth it, okay? So you get one pack of 50 for your entire family, and you'd have that for months and months and months of testing, unless you're just a freak and love to test everything, okay? Which is not a bad idea, but kind of overkill with that. So Keto Mojo, I think I remember it's like $40-some, maybe 50 on Amazon Prime, okay? So who's ready to do this? Like, come on, right? Yes. 12 of you are. All right. Turn out then. So here's what we're going to do now. I'm going to go over about probably 15 minutes. Is that okay if we just make sure I don't speed up too fast here? Good, we're good. 15 minutes? As if you would say no. So what I've done is I've created a 30-day intensive program that I personally have been doing, right? And we're going to implement this together. So there's going to be 30 days of community involved with this, weigh-ins, a guide, planning, group exercises. We're going to do 4 to 6 extended fasts, and by extended I mean 24 hours or longer over those 30 days, not day one, right? We're going to wait a week before we get into it, just so I can prove you that you won't die. If anybody here dies, I'll pay for your funeral, okay? That's on video. Well, let's work on decreasing your blood sugar, getting your ketones up. Let's break some freaking food addictions in here, right? And come on. Like as if stinking bread has that much power over you.
That's right.
If you leave it alone, it's going to mold. Anything that molds within a week should not have power over you. Right? Good God. Come on. Let's work on resetting your adipostat, right? Start fixing those hormones, and we can get an amen on this. Let's drop some major weight and body fat percentage, right? And even more exciting, let's start tapping into autophagy and stem cell production, okay? That's what I really want for you guys, because that's what's going to help you live longer and not just be merely easier on your pallbearers, right? I want you to sit down. So there are 2 levels of participation that I put together, okay, for this. And I want you to know nobody here should feel pressure to do this. What I've given you as far as intermittent fasting, if you take that and run with it, you will do great and you will see results. But for those of you that are like, I need to go all in on this, and I know I need help with this here, this is where you really need to pay attention. So the first level, and part of this here as I move forward is I now realize how much doing a challenge, how much time that takes of mine, answering all your guys' questions, because remember, this is Fasting 101. There's a whole slew of things that you're going to be running into that you need to be made aware of as you start going into longer than just intermittent fasting. So the basic level is going to be for $125. You're going to be able to do it in body, which that's the in body on the right. It's a body composition scale. It's $7,000. It's the most technologically advanced ones they make, other than what you can get done at a university. Okay. We do it at the very beginning, get your weigh in. You do it halfway through, and you do it at the end again, right? So you can track and see your results. It's really cool. We are going to have group workouts. So they're going to be a little bit different than what some of you have done before. I believe a lot of you would get intimidated or injured by like our burst style workouts. Now, although that is great, the main goal is just to get you moving. So we're going to do a jog, run, walk club, whatever you want to call it, okay, or workouts twice a week on Monday nights. We have the trails right by my office, the parking lots, and Saturday mornings. So if you can't run, great. Then you're going to jog with somebody. If you can't jog, great. Then you're going to walk with somebody. If you can't walk, well, then you're going to find an accountability partner and they can push you in your wheelchair. All right? The point is, it's about the community in doing this, okay? And with hopefully the number of people that want to engage with this here, there will be somebody at your fitness level, so like you won't be on the trail alone, right? It's a lot harder to run, jog, walk when you're alone, right? But if you can walk with somebody, talk about the challenges that have been going on fasting maybe, or maybe the benefits, or maybe like, hey, I'm so glad you're here, let's do this together. Will you stay with me? Or I see you're a little bit more advanced than me, would you kind of help pull me along a little bit? Yeah, like that's the whole part of the community here. I make a private Facebook group where this is where my time comes in. I'm answering these questions like all day long, which is great. That's quick access for all this. So I'll be doing live videos in here, like little mini seminars to help teach you more about this and how to get more bang for your buck out of this. And then you'll have a 30-day intermittent fasting and water fasting guide that we'll all be doing at the same time on the same days together. Okay? So you won't be alone. I think there'll at least be 2 people in here that'll do it. I will be following this exactly along with you guys. Okay? I'll be doing it at the exact same time frame to that. Now there is an advanced option. And I have to limit this to 10 people, okay? So this is not for you, no pressure, right? But this is going to be working with me one-on-one, like me in your face, me up in your business, knee to knee, kicking your booty if you need it, right? And keeping you on track and making sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck. So what this begins with is a 15-minute discovery call where we'll actually be talking tomorrow night on the phone. I want to know what your goals are. It doesn't have just to be weight, what your goals are. And we're going to make sure in 30 days from now, we're as close to hitting those as possible. Now, if you say, I want to lose 100 pounds in 30 days, this is not for you because that is not realistic, right? To do this, though, I would really like, and if you feel like I need to lose 4 pounds, don't do this one, all right? This needs to be people that need to lose 20 pounds or more, all right? That's just going to get the most value out of it. You get everything basic, except you get unlimited in-body testing, so whenever you want. And really, that'll be me guiding you, because doing this every day is not really recommended. You're gonna have that Facebook group plus a separate Facebook group, so there'll be really like in-depth stuff, because this group I'll be bringing into fasting at a slightly different way, slightly different rates and pace, and monitoring that very specifically. And then I'll also be giving everybody in that, just kind of as part of it, I'll be giving you a keto mojo again. So I'll order one for you, make sure you get the right one, and you'll have that. Now, if you want to be one of those crazy people that test yourself like bonkers, you're going to have to buy your own strips, okay, for that. But I'll make sure you get that as part of it, okay? And then again, like I said, I'm going to get up in your business and get to town on this, okay? Now, to sign up for this, okay, here's how this is going to work. You guys can do that right now. So they're going to pass out an order form that'll have one of those 2 options on there, as well as some of the supplements that we have. Now, most of you that are guests have no idea what any of those things listed on there are going to be, and that's okay. It's not really for you per se. But we always give discounts for our vitamins and supplements at this event. We're doing 15% off today. So if there's something you're out of, something you want to get at a discount, you can fill that out now, and we'll fulfill your order and at a discount, right? And you'll pick it up in your office next week. For those of you that are patients, what we're going to do is we're going to do your weigh-in when you come in for your adjustment this week. Okay, we'll do it at the same time. It'll be pretty quick. You're going to store your form. You're going to keep your form. It'll be stored in the system so we can track things as we go along. If you do it on Monday, all right, oh, and by the way, this is starting February 18th. This is not starting this Monday, because we'll need a week to everybody get weighed in. You know what I'm saying? We'll need a week to kind of get your mind wrapped around this, to experiment a little bit with this. And I'll start the Facebook group, though, tomorrow, so I'll start giving you some things to prep for this, all right? So you'll fill that out for you. For those of you that are a guest, we'll need a set time for you, so same thing as before, the guests will actually go over to this table here, and the ladies will help you with that meeting if you're not a patient of mine. If you are coming in for a chiro evaluation, we can do it at the same time as that, all right? So you don't have to make a separate appointment for that. We can just include it as part of your evaluation too. So, and then the last day, of course, is the cutoff to get the weigh-in done. The initial would be this Friday. Okay, so Friday I think that's the 16th, okay? So you'll fill that out according to, and then they'll also give you a little sheet. For those of you that are doing the advanced one, okay, the staff is going to give you my cell phone number because I'm going to be calling you tomorrow night between 7 and 9 p.m. so we can have that call. And I'll try to give you a text message and give you a rough schedule idea of when that'll be. So make sure you get my cell phone number so you don't ignore my call, right? So we're going to do that Sunday so I can be forming a plan for you specifically. Now I want to do a little testimonial here because I want to show you the power of this. So this is actually my mother-in-law. I know the picture's a little bit blurry. She sent it off my phone there, but that is my mother-in-law. How she gave me these pictures I'm about to show you could be from one thing only: she really loves me, okay? So this picture on the left right there was actually her at my wife and I's wedding, okay? So that was about 8 years ago. She was 125 pounds at that point, and she, women never tell your age, so I believe she was mid to late 50s, okay? I know at least that much, right? So she was in great, healthy shape for somebody in their mid to late 50s, right? But she had a very stressful job, very demanding corporate job, and what happened was there was some people that quit, some people that got sick, so all of a sudden more work started getting dumped on her. She was doing overtime every single week, which was good for money, but it was wearing her down. Eventually she snapped. She had a nervous breakdown, stress breakdown. She had to go on disability. Her hormones just got ruined from that, like specifically her adrenal glands. And she literally was not eating, but she started gaining weight. Like gaining weight even though she was hardly eating, okay? And so she gained over 50 pounds over the next couple of years as that was happening, even despite not eating poorly. This is actually at her son, so my brother-in-law's graduation, so there's her with Nora on that picture right there. Now, she started getting her health back on track and we started losing weight again as she managed her stress levels, but she plateaued. So to break through that, what she started doing was she had heard about fasting and I had heard a little bit about it, and so we kind of started learning together along with my wife, and so she started fasting. So she sent me this picture here last night, okay? She's now, so she's now back down to 135 and she's still steadily losing, right? And most importantly, she's lost 20 pounds in the last 2 months from doing what you guys are about to do. Cool, huh?
Yeah.
Right? And the difference here is that she's healing her body. She's not doing some like crazy, right, starvation type thing. And remember, starvation is not the same as fasting, right? Or she's just eating when she feels hungry. Her hormones are resetting, and she's doing amazing, okay? So that's that. Again, so you can sign up for that. Again, if you have questions for me, you can ask me. I'll be over there by the table. A couple of quick things about the program. If you're pregnant or nursing, don't do it. Okay, I tell you not to. If you are a extremely thin female, I recommend also not doing these extended fasts. You can still do intermittent. If you are a diabetic, you have to be very careful. All right, so make sure you talk to me, and I'm going to say talk to your doctor. Make sure you're very, very, very clued in on how you should be testing yourself to be managing that. Now, this next slide, I'm getting that little voice in my head right now that says just skip it for time's sake, but because I'm getting that voice, I know I need to crush this, okay? I want to pull up this picture right here. How many of you have seen this picture before? This photo was taken by Kevin Miller, who was a journalist for the New York Times back in the early 90s. in famine-stricken Sudan in Africa at the time. He and his group of journalists were there to document the famine that was going on in Sudan, and as he was documenting one day, this little girl emerged from the jungle, essentially, or the woods, and he was kind of set up along a trail that was leading to where there was food. You know, they were obviously handing out like small foods that they could, right? The government was intervening and all those things there. So she was on her way there when, along the way, she literally collapsed. In this picture you see right there from exhaustion and obviously from significant malnourishment. A few minutes later, right, now, before we go on, the reason why you're seeing this picture here is they were told, they were at least cautioned and given the suggestion, don't have too much contact with people you come across because disease was rampant at this point, right? But eventually a vulture came and landed just a few yards away from where this child was, which we all know why vultures land, right? So here Kevin was, he snaps this picture, right? And to his defense, the vulture would get a little bit closer, and he was trying to scare it off, right? Trying to scare it off. And eventually he was able to scare it away, and it went away. And thankfully, the little girl at a few minutes, hours later, I'm not positive the timeline, was able to get up, kind of stagger on it, and make it to the food shelter. When he took this picture, though, and that experience left him, by his words, what he did was he lit a cigarette, he started talking to God, and he began to cry. Now, he sent this photo, and it was published in the New York Times around that time, and he actually ultimately won a Pulitzer Prize, which is the top prize you can win in journalism, if I'm not mistaken, because of this picture right here. And in fact, it's been considered one of the 100 most influential pictures by Time magazine in history. A year after, though, that he won the Pulitzer Prize, he committed suicide. Because if you think about it, being congratulated and honored for a award that shows your, in a way, lack of humanity, right, has got to tear at your soul at a certain point, right? I think we can all resonate at least with that a little bit, how difficult that would be. Because when I look at this, too, I mean, again, all logic says, well, I don't want to get diseased, I don't want to get whatever was going on, right? In certain circumstances, logic should disappear and compassion should take over, right? Now again, some of you are going to think that the next couple minutes what I talk about is going to be extreme, and that's okay because it is what it is. And I've shied away from conversations like in the past because I'm afraid of judgment, thinking that when I talk about these things, this is you just thinking me that I want to just build my business, right, or whatever it is. I don't need your help with that, okay? When we talk about the extremeness of linking this picture to the health of our community, here's the reality. I will show pictures like this in an attempt to invoke a certain emotional response in you over and over and over again, and show extreme pictures when you all, as my patients, stop coming to my office telling me that your sister got diagnosed with cancer, or that your friend at church had a stroke, or that your coworker got put on dangerous medications or had some ungodly, awful medical procedure done because they didn't take care of themselves properly. When I stop hearing those things on a weekly basis happening, then I will stop motivating you, encouraging you, inspiring you, and darn near begging you to plead and to take action. Because here's the reality is that we have friends, family members, co-workers, that metaphorically speaking, are staggering through life right now with their health. It may not look super obvious, right? In some cases it does, but it may not look super obvious. But if all we're doing is sitting back and watching them and hoping, right, or even praying that they make it, I'm sure that guy was praying, I hope she makes it. It's not like he was like, oh, I hope she dies. He's not thinking that, right? I hope she makes it. I'm going to pray for her to make it. I'm going to pray that she finds an answer. I'm going to pray that the cancer treatment works right. Instead of figuring out what the freak do I got to do to help that people get to where they need to go, then I'm going to keep showing pictures like this. The reality is that for the people in your life, in your immediate circles, you might literally be the only angel possible that could get them on the right path and potentially change and transform their life. You might be the only one. You might literally be the only one. And I get that that's a huge responsibility, okay? And it can be depressing because many of you in here, I know, try over and over and over again with your loved ones, with your family members, with those people. I know you try. I know that for a fact. But just because we tried once, right, doesn't mean we should try again. And I know that one has to become very vulnerable to walk up to someone that you might think might laugh in your face at what you're about to tell them or what you're about to suggest to them. I know you have to become very vulnerable to do that. I'm not dismissing that or minimizing that one bit. But that doesn't mean it's not important. Doesn't mean it's not important. So what I'm going to ask of you is really help us save lives, okay? And you got a little form that was handed out, at least I hope you did anyways. It looks like this, okay? This right here is the opportunity to help potentially transform someone's life. Now I get that just by writing someone's name down on there is a vulnerable act in and of itself, because you're kind of committing to partnering with us, to making at least an effort to try to get them to do something for their health, okay? To hopefully make that vulnerability and that maybe a little bit of a burden a little bit easier to partner with you guys, what I'm going to do is and there's only 2 name spots on here, right? For every name that you write on there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take $10 off either your challenge or your order. This is a thanks, right? And not that I have to do that, and not that I'm also trying to incentivize to do that, but you know what? Even if I am, so what? I don't care. It's not where my heart is, but if that's how you want to look at it, that's all right. And what we do is we have a dinner once a month. The next one's coming up on February 21st. We literally clear out the chairs in our office, lay out tables. We feed them a healthy organic salad, right? It's not Chick-fil-A or Subway Hour, right? It's a healthy organic salad. I do a little spiel. It is a spiel. It's a 20-minute spiel about what it is that we teach in our office, how we get people healthy and well. And no matter, in my mind, no matter what the outcome is at the end of that dinner, whether the person you invited or brought or recommended to come, whether they take action or not, we can at least lighten the load a little bit and say we did our part. You guys with me on that, right? Like, we led the horse to water at that point, and if they don't want to drink, so be it. As the Coast Guard says, you only save the people that are swimming towards you. Well, a lot of people in your life that, they may not be falling apart right now, but they're on a path to be falling apart, and so they just might not know the direction they should be going. So those are the people that we're after. And we make our community a better place for that. When I moved to Raleigh, I'm not even from here, but when I planted the flag, so to speak, of my office here in the Triangle, and I'm going to live here for the rest of my life, right? It's like I realized that it was not just about setting up a business here, but it was planting a flag of responsibility for the health of my community. Because you know what? Although I have no issues with Duke and UNC, they aren't teaching health, right? They are there for when you have lost, your body has lost the battle. That's what they're there for, right? But they're not planting the flag in the name of health, in the name of education, right? In the name of transforming lives. They're planting their flag in disease and sickness management, okay? So that I took that responsibility. I need your guys' help to do that, okay? So if you would feel so kind to do that, you'll fill that out. You'll turn it in with your order form on the way out. Don't move yet, all right? They'll staple it, and they will make sure that they apply that to however that goes. And we'll make sure, we're not going to call your friend this afternoon and say, hey, Miss Carolyn said we should call you. You're like, who the flip are you calling, right? They'll reach in touch with you and figure out the best way to contact that person. So the last kind of quick action steps here that you're going to leave with. Here are your quick hitters. If you do one thing and one thing only is you stop snacking. You will see results, okay? Then I would say start intermittent fasting, only eating twice a day in an 8-hour window. if you're ready to go all in, let's do this challenge, baby. I'm ready. I'm ready to make some walking billboards. What I mean by that is some walking people where you walk into your church and people are like, hey, maybe they don't say dang in church, but like, woo! What you been doing, right? Maybe like, and then they talk about what you're doing, they mention us. You're like my walking advertisements, right? That's what we want it to be. And then too, again, if you're a guest, if you're like, I'm ready to go all in, and you haven't done it, you didn't get a chance because there's a lineup or whatever too, you'll have an opportunity here when we're done to do that. So again, if you're not a patient yet, like not a current active patient, maybe you will be next week, but not yet, you are going to go to this table right here because they'll have a little bit more work to do with you in that sense, okay, for whatever you're going to do. Patients, you guys will go out that door, guess well. Patients will go out this door right here, and the girls will be there to take whatever you got to turn in. Again, I'll hang up here to answer questions for as long as I need to from that. But don't get in line until you have everything filled out. Like, don't be filling out in line. If you can stay seated, I'll put the music back on. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for coming. You guys are the reason why I get to do what I love to do, which is teaching and speaking and planning and preparing and studying. You guys, without you guys, I mean, hey, I would have done this to an empty room anyways, but which I've done before actually. I did it last night. But it's fun when there are people here cheering, clapping a handful of times, right? Or at least smiling back at me. That's how I know I did my job. So thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day.